Hi, I'm Erik Jones, and you're listening to Verse by Verse. One of the greatest questions that many religions and religious people have sought to answer is, what is the ultimate fate of human beings, the wicked and the good? In other words, after righteous people die, where do they go? And after unrighteous people die, where do they go? Now, the most common answer in the mainstream Christian world is that the righteous go to heaven while the unrighteous go to hell, which is sometimes conceived as a place of torture in the subterranean depths of the earth. But is that answer true? Does the Bible really reveal that the righteous escape the confines of earth to spend eternity in heaven, while the wicked descend into hell to experience eternal torture? Well, in today's episode, we're going to answer that question using one verse. But that verse may not be in the book of the Bible you'd expect. You might expect I'd quote somewhere in the Gospels, Romans, or maybe even the book of Revelation. But the verse we're going to look at is actually found in the book of Proverbs. Now, Proverbs is primarily known for being a book of everyday practical wisdom. It's not one we typically go to learn doctrine or about the future. But within its 31 books filled with hundreds of little wisdom nuggets, we find the occasional proverb that addresses something much bigger than a life principle. Going back to the question of what happens to the righteous and wicked, we find a succinct answer in Proverbs 10, verse 30. Let's read it. The righteous will never be removed, but the wicked will not inhabit the earth. According to this proverb, the righteous will never be removed. Well, removed from what? Well, the context is clear. The earth. Now, this is in stark contrast to the common view that the righteous go off to heaven. No, instead of spending eternity in heaven, according to this proverb, the righteous will be based here, on earth. This statement is in perfect alignment with many other scriptures that show that the reward of the righteous is to reign on earth. For instance, I'm sure you've read the Beatitudes and that famous line in Matthew 5, verse 5, where Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Then back in Psalm 37, verse 9, David essentially says the same thing. He says, "For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait in the Lord, they shall inherit the earth." Scripture after scripture has the same message. The righteous will reign on earth. The earth is destined to be the hub of God's government and rule. Jesus Christ is returning to earth and will resurrect his saints, and together they will establish God's government here on earth. But what about the unrighteous? Well, the proverb continues, the wicked will not inhabit the earth. So those who are unrepentant and wicked will not live on earth. They'll be cut off. But how will they be cut off? Well, simply put, they'll be cut off through death. Romans 6:23 and many other verses reveal the ultimate fate of the incorrigibly wicked is death, the complete cessation of life. They'll no longer exist. They're not going to be tortured in the subterranean depths of hell. Now, there are many other scriptures I'd love to share and read, but we just don't have the time in this episode to do that. That's why I'd encourage you to download our free booklet, The Last Enemy, What Really Happens After Death, because it covers many of those other scriptures. We'll provide a link to download that booklet in the show notes. But hopefully today's verse provided a bit of clarity on an important question. The Proverbs may not be the first place you think to look for an answer to the question we started with, but the answer it gives is true and aligns with the rest of the Bible. The righteous will never be removed, but the wicked will not inhabit the earth. If you stay faithful to God, you can face the end of your life with confidence that you will live again and reign with Christ here on earth, but not the earth in its present form. You'll have the opportunity to be a part of God's family and help build a new earth, not one where righteous people just happen to live, but an earth where righteousness dwells. You'll have the opportunity to be a part of God's family and help rebuild a new earth, an earth that will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea.
Verse by Verse is a Life, Hope, and Truth podcast. Check out the show notes to find more free content, like videos, articles, and booklets in our Learning Center.